Fred White, the VFL, is with us now. He's looking dapper as always. Fred, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Dave. How you guys doing today?
Never better. So, as a player, you got to put the game behind you, a loss like within 24 hours, right? But as a fan base, how do you think Tennessee's fan base has responded to the loss at Florida?
I don't know if we've actually gotten over it yet, but I think it's a long season, and you got an opportunity to right the ship down, try to figure out what you did wrong in that game, and get better at it. You have to have a short memory. Now, I hope we don't have to have a short memory later on in the season. A few other times. I think whatever we worked on this week, we need to go out and show that we can be dominant against a team like a UTSA and try to get over that hump. I think getting this win would get us over that Florida loss a little bit more.
Fred, sticking with this, kind of looking back on history, you guys obviously, y'all beat Florida in 98, but y'all did have to recover from Florida in 99, 97, 96, 95, and y'all usually recovered pretty well.
Yeah, that's great, Caleb. Thanks for the memory.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Actually, wait a minute.
Maybe like Fred's I don't know, gotten in a car wreck, or he's lost a family member, and you want to bring that up or something. Great job,
Fred.
Caleb.
Wait, not Fred White's fault. As I said last week, Fred White, when you were starting, did your job to beat Florida every time. And so I'm not holding this against Fred and Deion Grant at all, because they did their jobs. Some other people didn't do their jobs.
I was thinking about this the other day, not to interrupt, but it's not through just working with Fred. But I actually thought to myself, is that the best duo of safeties of all time?
Ooh, Fred and Deion Grant.
I'm laying it on, Fred, but I was really thinking, I've covered a lot of teams. I guess that Miami crew with Ed Reed, I don't remember who his cohort was. And I know you guys better than anybody else. I'm not going to ask you to call yourself the best safety duo of all time.
I can't call myself the best. I feel like I'm the best, though. Do I think anybody's better than me? Absolutely not. If you don't think you're great, want nobody else. I guarantee you that much. But it's not for me to decide on who's the best.
Smoky Mountain Red agrees with me. Caleb, I'm sorry to interrupt your question. Go ahead.
So, Fred, the one that stands out to me was the 97 one, because I know that you guys, that probably had to be frustrating to lose to them again, but you guys rebound and win the SEC championship. How were y'all able to maintain, I guess, a high head at that point? I don't know if that's the right phrase to use, but because that had to be demoralizing, right? The 97 one.
I think the 97. I mean, every loss I've ever had was demoralizing. I remember almost everything that happened in the game I lost. I can barely remember some of the wins, but the losses are the things that stick with you, because those are the things you try to get better at. How do we get back? Hey man, you got to go back and go to work the next week. If you let this one loss hinder our whole season, hey man, I don't want you on my team anyway. Get out of my locker room. You might want to be gone anyway. I mean, because you never know what can happen. It's a long football season. As we saw in 97, we got a chance to make it to the SEC championship because Florida did lose 2 games. Those are the things that, you just keep fighting. You never know how it's going to work out. In 1998, when we won the national championship, you look at some of the teams that were undefeated that same weekend that we were undefeated in the SEC championship. You had Miami playing against UCLA. UCLA was undefeated. And also there was a Texas A&M team that went and beat Kansas State who was undefeated. You got to continue to play and see what happens and let it shake itself out. You never know what's going to end up being there at the end of it. Florida State wasn't supposed to be in the national championship game with us simply because some other teams lost. They made their way into it.
Yep. And I want to point out, Fred, that you went 13-0 in 98 after Caleb just ripped you. So I mean, that's me being a nice guy. Caleb's different. He's hardcore.
But I take it on the floor. I take it on the 10 with Florida when it comes to that game, simply because that team was a team that was our nemesis. I only lost to 2 SEC schools. That was Florida 4 times. I do count that year I was redshirted, so I counted 4. And also once against Arkansas. Those are the only teams that beat me in the SEC. So didn't lose many games. The ones that, like I said, that I lost are the ones that stick out the most because I didn't lose many.
No, you didn't. Fred, do you know when you go out to or even Sunday morning meetings or Monday at practice, when do you know? Because college football is so different. Major League Baseball, you can lose 60 games and you just keep on plugging along. College football is so different. One loss can derail a season. How quickly did you know that your teams were ready to bounce back after a disappointing loss? Was it Sunday morning? Was it Monday? Was it Tuesday? When was it?
Monday practice. Because if you weren't ready Monday practice, there's going to be some wrestling going on in that locker room.
Wrestling.
There's going to be some wrestling going on in the football field too. It may start a fight just because you're not getting your job done. We didn't play those type of things, man. We had our whole goal every day was perfect practice, no repeats. If you make us repeat, hey man, there's gonna be some issues. Somebody's gonna say something. There's gonna be more than one person's gonna say something. If you make us repeat more than once, get off our football field.
Yow. Did you ever have a Monday after that was ho-hum as a team because the loss was so disappointing?
No, because you knew immediately. You better come to practice on Monday ready to get it in. You better come to practice Monday ready to work because we just lost. So if you come out here with a ho-hum, that means you ain't trying to win no more games, man. You got to go. You better toughen it up. Toughen up, Buttercup. Let's go.
Toughen up, Buttercup. I love it. All right. Caleb, anything else you want to rip Fred about?
Well, actually, Fred, one of the I didn't see the I've heard of him as a leader, obviously, but I didn't see the inner workings of Peyton Manning as a leader during the locker room during that time. But I will say, could you talk a little bit about one of the finest moments, I think, of Peyton Manning's leadership career? There's a YouTube video of him giving a speech to you guys in the locker room right before the Ole Miss game, the week after Florida. I don't know if you remember that speech at all, but it's out there.
I don't remember the speech. I don't. There's only a few speeches I remember from someone in the locker room.
One's an opening chapter in a book.
Well, how do you forget that one? That's like
yeah, you can't forget that one. That was a big one. That's the number one on my list. I can remember the pregame speech Coach Fulmer gave for the national championship and how that kind of shook out. I can remember that because of some of the things that happened in it. How he charged us out of the locker room and they were trying to make us stay in it. I'll never forget that. I can remember Peyton being a leader simply because of how hard he worked, man. I mean, sometimes you don't have to say anything to be a leader. Sometimes just doing the work and being who you are, the hard worker, the study guy, all those things made Peyton a leader. He was a leader from just sheer work, first of all. And then if he came, come on, guys, let's get it together. Let's go do this, all those type of things. Yeah, I get it. And that was Peyton Manning. He was all of those things in a bag of chips. So with hot sauce on them. So I mean,
never put hot sauce in chips. I got to give that a shot.
Yeah, man, Lay's potato chips with some nice hot sauce. Absolutely.
I like the fire Cheetos, but the hot Cheetos. But.
Well, I made a mistake in LA when I was out there and got some of these Snoop Dogg chips, and they just make you want to eat more and more and more chips, if you know what I mean. So be careful with those. I'm just saying, because you eat those and then you want more chips and then you want more chips, and then before you know it, you can't remember your name.